this quick. Okay. You carry all this knowledge. I'm aware that you've mentioned you want to have the youth dismantle your knowledge, and you've put that into a non-profit organization. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, everything I grew up knowing, not just myself, but the network of healers in the San community and the leaders and pathfinders, teachers, we never get exposed in our terms for youth development or community development. So I took my experience and learning about environmentalism and everything, and understanding more how this normal world works. And in that was taught about companies, how to open up these companies. So I created IYX Africa, and this nonprofit had to have a track record. And I gave my life for that. I started touring the entire Southern Africa, everywhere. Already, luckily, since a child, I did it with my grandparents, or my grandfather mostly. In the apartheid time, my grandfather used to smuggle alcohol for white people, so he got us to drive very far. And also on the way, visit family and friends and, go see people. And that gave me today the map to refollow. So I took about, say, 10 years since I've been hurt. And in that 10 years, took my entire knowledge that my grandparents and everybody else taught me and placed it in a small team's hands. And we do remote assistance, youth development. And I go to clans to go and add back knowledge that they might have forgotten, rituals that they might have forgotten, or they forgot their rites of passage, or they're not sure about the funeral was done right. So they'll call me and say, you come through and just explain to the elders again, where did they miss out this and what they should have told us. So I still have that and added it to IWAX Africa's curriculum, which is a user manual for indigenous children to know the value of the landscape and to see themselves as the landscape. We don't have the freedoms other community has, but we do have much more knowledge than other communities when it comes to nature and the wilderness. So teaching children where I come from more natural stuff is actually what you want to do. I have potential dropouts. School is not doing it for them. They're not what they do in school and what they do with me in the bush is you can see they love what they're doing in the bush, and which in a way changed how they perform at school. So it is working for the school, the community, that children are back into the old rites of passage, not hunting but learning and using hunting now to look for lost animals or to see that this is an endangered animal, I have to remove it from this. So they learn a lot about the bush, agroecology, how to grow food naturally. Why agroecology is important. We Nama and San youth and people, we eat out of the bush. We foraging and hunting communities. Nama is pastoral, but they still also used to forage with us. So they know our food as Bushman people. And it is important today because the cost of food in South Africa is ridiculous. No one can afford a pumpkin at 100 Rand. In Namibia, food is so high that the Bushman is in a situation because these fences we have and farms people built has limited us from foraging. So IYX Africa teaches how to grow food naturally and add to our diet because we have a foraging diet. We don't know your carrots, vegetables, all that. No, we're learning to know that. We started eating that. And that's also a cause of many of our illnesses because we weren't born eating what most people eat. We eat berries, insects, wild meat, and today we have to eat boiled food and parboiled food, and these things are creating TBs, high blood pressures and diabetes and cancers we can't fight. So learning all these things, it was important for me to go back and give back. And that's why we created IYX Africa. We have a native child of the world cross-continental youth exchange as well, where we look at youth to come up with solutions for climate change, for social unrest, by sharing each other's cosmology. A child from Brazil in the forest sharing his cosmology with a child from the desert, and understanding why they were taught these things and what it could change in society if they have to use it or teach it to a kid from the city. And in that, also exchanging with urban kids in this way, with indigenous children, to find a way to link their minds and their capabilities. Because you find today a lot of the children from cities and metro areas, they're going through shock and trauma because of weather, climate shock. You have technology shock. You have parental shock. There's every form of damn shock out here today for a child. But knowing there's a child that knows how to deal with that shock is amazing. There's a Bushman child. For him, dealing in shock is going for a walk and looking for the most rarest insect is possible there.
Yeah.
And he never finds it. But along that, he finds different lessons and he finds different spores of different animals. He watches different behavior. He comes back and tells, no, not of his sadness, but he just saw a king cobra fight a badger. And he thought that was an amazing story. But look at what that walk did. It derailed that child's mind from his sadness. He went back home halfway from his mad walk and went to go say that he saw a king cobra wrestle a badger. And why? King cobra represents something in our culture. Badger represents something in our culture. So if the city kid can come through and understand that, it might help that child to refresh his mind and step mentally out of that city when he needs to. Do it in the garden, in the park, or looking at a pot, a plant in a pot. It's possible. Bushman knows it. So having this camps and having this organization gives me the ability to not train everybody, but I do run a trainers of trainers program where I teach most of my useful skill and needed of the now skill to a group of ambassadors that trains a set of trainers of trainers. And they get these camp attendees coming from farm schools and rural schools to teach them, how to filter dirty water. It's a problem. There's no water. People think South Africa has water. Large part of South Africa doesn't have water. But we have dirty water and polluted water. So these kids can know how to filter that, how to tell the difference between poisonous mushrooms, edible mushrooms, what is edible food. My sister's got periods. They go make her something like this. This is what you would call helichrisium, but to us, this is koichut. When a woman's got periods, you'd like to sleep on this. And it helps you. So knowing that doesn't allow your sister to walk in a place like Oakip or Springbok 50, 60 kilometers to a clinic that might be open. Teaching them how to make reusable pads, the layers of the cloth, why layers like that, teaching them how to make the medicines they need for periods, shock, by going into the wilderness and finding it instead of buying it because we can't afford it. And these children are learning this and they're also going home, especially the ambassadors. Many of the parents are phoning me and telling me, you know what, I'm about to drink something this child just made for me out of a plant. I'm like, you sure I'm not going to die? I'm like, no. If the child knows what he's doing, trust it, and push message back, I'm fine and I'm feeling actually better. But that plant was in front of them for their whole life. So it is useful information, protecting nature, conserving, and giving back to society properly through an organization that actually has a principle, not to harbor money or keep money behind for a better day, for a better project. No, we actually have a camp that betters other projects. Send your communities can send trainers over to come train at the camp, learn better food skills, companion planting, seed saving. The story of food in Africa is a remarkable story. Each clan, each tribe is a different way of seeing food and a landscape. Together it becomes a biodiversity of dreaming good, eating good, sleeping good. But we're not practicing these things because we're still looking at each other differently. And the camp is for all children, not just indigenous children, white children, black children, brown children. Bring it on, as long as they understand that it's a camp based on how to learn from the Nama, the San, and to better your community with that. Learn the ancient ways not for Facebook, not for Instagram, but to actually save a life altogether.
And this runs purely on donations through a non-profit.
Your donations. Vanessa, my girlfriend's friends, just gave her a whole lot of art supplies, things I could never afford, things I'm used to because I'm in the city. But this one box could raise enough funds by making art now. The volunteers will make art, the ambassadors will make art to sell, raise funds, because I'm also teaching them to be independent. I don't want them to learn to depend on me and the organization. So I'm teaching them micro income. I'm teaching them how to better, selling not something new, but looking at what we have is in our culture, using our culture, creating intellectual property that they can be proud of and not copy. And it becomes very important then, because knowing how to make that string of beads, just a basic string of beads like this, it's not normal. This is done for a woman only, the arrangement, the leopard spots only. Then there's others to protect the woman that's got periods, they learn their culture in art, or relearn their culture and unlearn this world. So the organization does this. Jakkalswater, a farm, gave us almost 400 hectares to use. They don't want nothing from us. They don't want money from us. They just want us not to fail a child. So we have the campsite there, and it's the first year of the campsite. We just done a pilot project, which went beautiful. And yeah, from next year we have a full year of camping and teaching children indigenous knowledge and exchanging with other cultures, white, from anywhere. We would really like to bring people there, hoping that these trainers might make a difference in changing society.
That's incredible. I wish you the best of good fortune for the camp. If that would be children coming or going to Southern Africa, if someone like you,
the volunteers come, but
yeah.
our children are from all over Namibia, Botswana, and South Africa.
If I extended an invitation for you to come and visit us in Australia, what would you want to take a look at, or where would you want to go?
I'd like to go to the mass gravesite of my great grandfather that was hung in Australia, David Samuel Stearman.
Tell me a bit about David Stearman.
David Stearman was a naughty man, very angry, very warlike. And he did this because our clans were being colonized by black people, brown people. The Khoi was there, was coming in, the Bantu, the Nguni. Then you had the Portuguese, British, and Dutch coming in. So there was a lot of influence that was destroying our community. And he stood up and he fought for us. And history painted a picture that is not actually how we know it as indigenous people, but how most people are reading it, how the colonizer wrote it down. And for example, I'm not one of his children or his offspring that would like to make war, but use the same energy he had in protecting our people by going that far, escaping twice from Robben Island, being taken by the VOC to Australia, to actually be an example in the future. And I admire him. I know what he did today. It's wrong to say he killed so many people. But it was wrong for all these people to take our land. It was wrong for these people to rape our sisters. And not long after that, we had to face the German genocide, where the Germans raped our sisters and our mothers and killed everybody, cut their heads off and hands off. And that is trophies that's sitting in somebody's shelf in Germany. The Nama and the Herero is getting their payout, but the Southern African natives, especially the Naro heads, we don't know where's it.
Mm-hmm.
We know where's the mass graves, where there's no body, or heads taken off and no bodies. So for me visiting Australia, it would be very important that I stand bare feet where he was dragged on his body into a hole and ask him to calm me down, because it's his anger that I'm worried about. I know in generational and intergenerational trauma, I am the descendant of this man. I am from the bloodline of Jan Barkat. And he had a way of loving too deep. No one just goes out and do what David Stearman did. You have to really love your people. And I think I love my people that much. And today, after the San genocide in South Africa and the San genocide in Botswana and Namibia, and we're not as much as people think that we are. We are very less now. The bands are very small now. The groups are very small. But, you know, if you tell somebody who you are, what is your language? What does your beats mean? You live like that. Somebody will know me in Australia and say the word Naro. And that is enough, because we can't beg the world to pay attention in a world that we can already see. You know, publicly even, it seems like this is the end, where people are going crazy. But, you know, there is hope. There is hope. And visiting David Stearman's grave, who thought that could be possible? You know, it's me bringing some of that sand home, me performing the rites of passage of a dead person crossing over. I don't think that has ever happened for him or any of the Bushmen that went with him. That would mean that somebody in his bloodline actually came and did it, and not another clan member, because our government sent some people over there. And, you know, I'm not going to badger or badmouth people or say something, and whatever they said when they came back is not the truth. However they made us feel is not the truth. We should not feel that way. This, for me personally, would be a way to come back and also maybe show photos and videos of the site to people who might never go there. Photography helps you see. I love photography. And if I just have a moment to take a photo of the ground, me barefoot there, and prove that I was there, a lot of people in my clans would start believing more in me, that I'm not a risk, that I'm a leader that's really trying to see just for our youth. There are the problems. It's not that I don't care. It's too much money involved. We become funding tools. And since we became funding tools, the money never goes to the right people or to the right project. But I would like this organization to actually be that. And visiting my grandfather would be a gift. I only heard about him through stories through his great-grandchildren. I never knew I might be one of the children that might be on the soil that he lays in. Everybody else in my country that's indigenous as a leader praises him. This might change a lot. It might be just a visit that somebody organized, but when I come home and I show where I was, it might change the way how we look at each other. It might give them a time to listen to me, so that I can tell them that whether you Khoi, whether you Nama, whether you San, our children are in great danger. It's not just hunger. They don't know how to live. They don't know how to defend their health or defend their tummies. They still think that this is okay, that's the way we live. If whoever knows South Africa properly and knows the brown community, we're becoming more violent than what we've ever been before. And there's a lot of kids that don't want to be like that. So I hope that if I do get this chance, there's things I want to tell him, because I can't tell him here. I can tell him there in Australia because his spirit is there. And I can tell the healers of that land. If I find out who's the healer on that land, the Aboriginal healer, me and that man has an amazing opportunity to make somebody go home. By just making a fire, watering an ostrich, putting the correct herbs in an ostrich shell, and me saying the word that I should say to carry a lost soul home. And I can come home, go to a cave. Caves are not that people think our homes. No, it's where we go and leave the old dead. When our old die, they take a walk and they go die. They don't die on the young people's minds. They go die in the bush, they lie to you. So I'm gonna take him for a walk that I can't walk no more when I come back to South Africa. I could put that ostrich shell and that tortoise shell in a place where I hope somebody can come and say, I wonder who left this here.
Mm.
And that story there would start itself again. They'll know it's a bushman. It's to honor a bushman. So that is for me very important. That if I could get into Australia and stand at that station and come home and show my grandmother who will have a heart attack if I tell her I'm going there, because she would not agree for me to go there. She still thinks the VOC is alive.
Yeah.
So the union is still alive in her mind. The VOC is still alive in her mind. So it would be nice for her to tell her that, I actually was there, don't have a heart attack. And it is her son, her late husband, was the last of the Barkat sons that was alive. And I'm here because of David, also named after David Steerman. David is my grandfather of now that leaves me behind, him and this old lady, direct descendants of Jan Barkat and the Steerman family. So it is something great that I can go back to the Eastern Cape and sit with some leaders and say, look at this. And I'm not as angry as him. I'd like to tell him that. I can feel it in my age. It's getting there. But I think that I'm born to do what he did differently.
And I know I've done a bit of research that it's a trip to Sydney, and the mass graves are pretty near the international airport in Sydney. So it would be good to get you over here, and not just for that bit. I heard that you might take an opportunity to play your bow and bring some of the clapping circles and the bow circles. I was hoping that you'd be good enough to indulge us with a song.
Yeah, and what's going to be special is you making me a bow, and that is amazing for me. That is amazing. Well, I have two bows. One bow is what you would play at night or in the morning. There's a reason. You don't want to wake people up that don't want to go through trance and stuff. So this sounds different too. So this one here is what I would play at night. You can hardly hear. So I'll play the one for daytime. This is no longer my bow. I gave it to Vanessa. So it's a bow that done a lot of healing, a lot of heavy light work.
Yeah.
Lots. She's met demons.
Awesome. Just incredible. Thank you.
Thank you.
You. It was a pleasure listening to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And yeah, for blessing me with your knowledge. And I really hope to see you soon. And
Me too.
if I can get you over here, then we'll get you introduced to a whole bunch of people, and I'm sure they'll listen as intently as I did. And what you got on for the rest of your day?
Putting these things away.
Awesome. Thank you. I've also received some videos from you that I'll include in this of some of the healings you've done and some of the community.
The one with the girl, that girl there is an autistic child, and that's the first time she's ever felt anything in her body. And the only way we could do that was by giving her a transplant and putting vibration on her. And now she can almost walk and she can sit up alone. Before that, she was on drugs and it wasn't working at all. The lady that plays bow, she's one of the ladies that taught me how to look for cracked bones with a bow on a human being.
Wow.
And she can actually fix a person with her bow. Like really in depth playing. You can hardly hear when she plays, but you feel things on your body. And the other videos is me doing also work. But the bow is very important work when it comes to that. The dance and the bow. Unfortunately, the bow doesn't involve the dance. It involves only hand clap. And that's when you see the one video with the old ladies and the man running up and down, shaking.
Yeah.
My future is the man sitting by the 3 sticks. If he has to explain to you what he sees through those sticks, you would not believe him.
Yeah.
There's another world, and he can peep into that world, and there's somebody else peeping and telling him secrets and things to that. He's totally not there. Him and the one running up and down that can see the sickness running around, he can catch it in the air. And these men sadly can't be these men anymore. They now do it just weekends, they visit each other, go sit somewhere in the bush where it's legally allowed, and they practice it there. And if the Botswana government finds out, you go to be arrested. The Namibia government finds out, you'll be arrested. In South Africa, they can't come because they don't have passports and IDs.
It's sad. It's sad.
Well, we shouldn't look at it as sad because the sun has one thing. It says that we have died like this many times.
Okay.
It says that we have died like this many times. There's always somebody of young that brings it back. So that's why it's important to teach the youth the sun knowledge. So as we're dying out now, we can correct that.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
It shouldn't be looked at as a sad thing. Everything dies and dies off. It's just the manner in which they die or die that should be questioned. We right now really need help. Really, really need help. Our youth. We need to we lost this year alone. I think we're sitting on less than maybe about say 3,500 babies that has already died due to malnutrition. And these are majority foraging people that don't know how to grow food. You know, they had land. If they were taught how to properly grow food, they would maybe have potatoes or onions. So it is that basic need for food and water that we are sharing our knowledge for, not money to go build a school. No, our school is nature. I don't need money for that. Our school is outdoors. I can never ask money for something that don't exist. What I need money for is to make sure that I can go get these people and move them up and down. And when they are there, they are well looked after. So they can go home with that energy and go and motivate the next group coming while they teach the others. Because that's what trainers of trainers is. I can't get money to help everybody, but I can train a small group to just train people, to train people, to train people. And hope that their trainings and the upgrades of these trainings, they have to come back and get upgrades to the information and updating their skill and doing courses. It gives me a central place to collect data of the clans, how much HIVs there is, how much TBs there is, so that one day before I die, I have enough data to say, is this worth the funding I need to buy a farm? Because we do need our own land to actually develop. We can't develop. We're happy where we stay out there, but we need one place where the culture is alive.
Yeah.
Where the main part is alive, that feeds the help for the villages and other communities, where people can come study us without being ripped off, because you find universities send people and they send money. Well, the universities is not wrong. It's the corrupt people who said to look after us, that takes the money, buys 4x4s and buys soup for us, you know? So if we could minimize that, I think we can get out of the marginalization, graduate into a more workable part of poverty than marginalization. We need to get out of that mindset and communities, because we're worth a lot of money in marginalization that we don't see.
Yeah, that's true. That's not good.
Thank you. This gives even an opportunity for a part of the world to also know the truth. And it's also important, people must understand, you can't call us Khoisan. It's very wrong.
Okay.
It's very, very wrong. We are San clans. I'm Naro. But my grandparents come from Naro, Tung, Nama, Naro. And that is how clans are named. You have Joan C, Aikwas, Naro, Ui, Koe, Tung, Kung. Not Khoisan. Koi was a word given by a German zoologist, and it stuck. And today we are called Khoisan, making the IP of that German zoologist, make him more famous academically. While we suffer, I am San. I am heavens more happier for somebody to call me a bushman, because then I don't need to have a title of my clan. I don't need to have something attached to me that I have to stress out and defend all the time. No, I'm a bushman. I defend the bush. Within the bush is everything I love. The Khoi, they are also a form of colonizers in our country that hurt us. The white colonizer came, the black colonizer came, the brown colonizer came. We're still sitting where we are sitting as the first people of the Southern Africa. And yet we don't have the freedoms that even the Khoi has in Cape Town. They don't even have a language or cosmology. The Nama just gave them a big problem now, because they're starting to steal the Nama language, calling it Khoi Kohab. It is Nama Kohab. A Khoi means person. You can't be a clan called person. All our clans, Naro means person, Nama means person, Kwe means person, Kung means person, not person. And that has destroyed a lot. And now they say David Stearman is a Khoi. It's Khoisan. Something we can't fix now. Because they politically say it.
We have 3 minutes left. And
I'll get you on WhatsApp.
Yeah, thank you so much. And let's see what we can do with all of this.
Cool.
Great. I'll speak to you right after I press the stop recording button.